Notice, in accordance to the new copyright regulations, this episode of Quoth Ravens is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we will feature on this show sometimes is kid-friendly, the context of our show is to address adults, inform those said content for them to research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is always the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well, rated TV 16 and up. And welcome once again to Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 28-year veteran writer, editor, and artist of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And tonight, my guest is fellow creator Michael Penick. He's a commercial storyboard artist and comic book creator. And he's got many comics that he's been producing, both on his Patreon and on other platforms. And he's currently crowdfunding a series called Recovery Incorporated. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, I thought I was almost it was like brain fart for a second. So how are you tonight, Mike?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, certainly. See if we can get this there's a little bit closer there. A little bit better. So go ahead and give us a little bit of the background for yourself. How much you got started in comics and why?
Well, let's see. How far back should I go? I had random comic books as a kid, just sort of randomly. I had some. My parents bought me some. Believe it or not, I had some Iron Man and Micronaut comics. Those were some of my first comics. Somehow, at a far too young of an age, I had some Savage Sword of Conan comics as well. I don't know how I wound up with those, but I really liked those. When I was 16, my friend Peter took me to a comic book specialty store, and I didn't even know those existed. But like one Friday afternoon, he's like, "Come on, get in the car," and I was drawing all the time already at that stage, and I was wanting to be an illustrator, but I don't know. My friend Peter just knew somehow. So he drove me to the closest comic book specialty store, and we walked in, and that was it. That changed everything for me. So then I ended up, I was in a special commercial art program in high school. It was like 2 hours a day my junior year and 3 hours a day my senior year. And my teacher there had gone to
New York, or where were you?
No, this was in Texas, actually.
Okay.
This was in Plano, Texas, which is like a suburb of Dallas.
Right.
I was in, this was in like Friday Night Lights territory. The heart of Friday Night Lights. My high school was the fourth largest school in the country. And my senior year, our high school team was the number one high school team in the country. So that gives you an idea of just what I'm talking about when I talk about that Friday Night Lights mentality and all that. It was like crazy.
Certainly. It's like,
I stayed as far away from it as I could. Huh?
Are you drawing the mascot? Are you drawing the players? If you're not, get the heck out of here.
Yeah. No, I stayed as far away from that stuff as I could.
I was it was kind of weird when high school came. I was athletic in gym class. I had like 85 to 90% of the school records by the end of my freshman year. But I didn't play the team sports, partly because my parents didn't really want me to play. And in some cases, like for football, I was too small to play. I was like 5'2", 130 pounds, and Doc wasn't clearing me. So it was like you had this, they kind of gave you this attitude. You know, if you can do that, why can't you do this? And it's like, yeah, yeah. So that was always a problem my freshman year, and then I moved to a different high school, and I just said I am staying as far away from athletics as I possibly can because I don't want to deal with their stuff. You just the
Yeah.
attitude. Mhm.
Oh yeah. I played. I grew up playing soccer, and then I ran track for a little while, and then I started playing basketball. So I was on the basketball team all the way up through 11th grade, and then I just wanted to focus on my commercial art the last year. But it was kind of funny because I did the athletic thing, but I never hung out with the other. Back in
You're
our
probably
time,
like
there
me.
was the
You weren't really, you could get along with any of the cliques, but you weren't part of any of them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was the jocks, and so I had to be able to be in their world to be on
Mhm.
the team and stuff, but I didn't hang out with them. I didn't
Right.
want much to do with them outside of being on the team. So then
Exactly.
I'd go hang out with my art friends.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
who I hung out with.
Yeah, I didn't hang out
So,
with anybody because I didn't really. I was in my freshman year. I wasn't allowed to take art class.
oh, that stinks.
Yeah, if you were taking college preparatory, you didn't get art in your first semester or your first year because you only had a 3-year program. Unless you were going to art school,
Oh,
but
okay.
you didn't take it.
So
And
you
I
just didn't have elective space for that, I
right.
guess.
And
Yeah.
then when I moved to the second school, well, you didn't take it as a freshman, so you can't have it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, stupid, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay. But my second high school was so bad that, as I've talked about on the show before, I ended up having court order to let me get out of school a year. It's supposed to be 2 years early, but it was a year and a half by the time we got through all the red tape.
Oh, yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
okay.
That's the system.
So you are in Texas at the time, and then you get into the commercial art.
Yeah, so I got into the commercial art program, and my teacher had gone to the School of Visual Arts in New York City. But way back when, it was actually called the School for Cartoonists and Illustrators at the time, I think it was.
Mm.
Back when actually Bern Hogarth, who was one of the co-founders of the school, was actually still teaching there back then. So he'd recommended that I go there.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I go home and tell my teacher I need to go to school, and my teacher said I need to go to school in New York City, and my parents were like, well, let's look at a few other schools that are closer, as well. But so my father ended up his job moved him up here to Chicago in my senior year, and he came up here, but my mother stayed with us in Plano so I could finish high school with my friends, and just
yeah, right.
anytime you move, the requirements of the new state always like potentially hold you back a year or whatever. So
Yeah,
I get to
well, yeah, they try, but
yeah,
when you find out,
because you haven't taken Illinois history and all this other nonsense, right? So
Illinois,
yeah,
Illinois was the funniest state of them all for me. By the time I was through 8th grade, I was taking college courses at College of Lake County as
okay,
stuff. So then I go to Michigan, and it's like, really? That's why I needed to get the 2 years ahead, graduating, because there was nothing they could do. They had nothing to offer. But,
yeah,
yeah. It just one of the big problems with education in our society in this country is we don't let the system suit the individual students and let us learn at our own paces. And they try to socialize you into certain categories.
yes, yeah.
And when you do that, you are hindering both the desire to learn and the ability to learn, unless a person has parents like mine or an attitude like mine where it's like, screw it, I'll do it on my own. You don't want to teach me, I'll go learn it on my own. But
yes,
he has that kind of, drive.
right. Sometimes if you happen to live in the right place, if you're lucky enough, wealthy enough to live in a good place, you'll be in a good school system that can tailor more to those needs. But the vast majority of people don't. And so, therefore, they live in a far more simplified system where you get lumped in the middle, and the special people don't get the stimulation they need, and the slow people get left behind. Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Yep, that's
yeah.
I mean, when I was up at Lake Villa, and you know where Lake Villa is in Illinois, like I said, I was 8th grade as far as age, but I was taking English classes at the college, community college.
Yes.
And by the time I go to Michigan, and it's like, okay, now what? Oh, we need you to conjugate this sentence. Really? You need me to conjugate the sentence. Capitalize the first letter of the first word. Put a proper apostrophe in the third word. Give us a contraction. Please put some punctuation in the sentence. And then we'll worry about your stinking other stuff.
Yeah.
No, it was so bad. I insulted my teachers because I just made them look bad all the time. And it wasn't, I'm always when you're correcting your teachers in every class, you don't need to be in the school.
Yeah.
So, but that was just my bad luck, I think, more than anything else. But again, so you went into the School of Visual Arts in New York.
Yeah. I looked at a few places up here in Chicago. So I had fallbacks. hell bent to go to one place. So my parents forced me to have fallback places. But I got into the School of Visual Arts. So.
But did you think about the Kubert School nearby in New Jersey, or?
No, I'd never heard of it.
Okay.
So it didn't cross my radar because I hadn't heard of it. No, I heard of Pratt. And then I heard of the American Academy in Chicago here.
Okay.
And Columbia.
So you heard more about the higher national academic schools.
Yeah. I didn't know any specialty things, and I had no connections into the comic book world at the time or anything.
Okay.
So I just had. You kind of have to know people or something to have heard of the Kubert School.
They did have the ads in the comics, but that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, I didn't look at the ads. I glossed right over them. I think the X-ray glasses and the sea monkeys were probably the only things I ever remembered.
Oh, geez. Yeah, they had an ad campaign for a while.
I don't remember ever seeing them. Really, seriously. Gosh, that shows how just naive and airheaded I was.
Yeah, well,
whoosh right over my head.
I mean, I knew it was there, but I didn't think about going there. I really didn't.
Wow. When was the Kubert School founded?
Oh, geez. 60s, early 70s.
Oh gosh. Okay, so man, I don't know. Yeah. I only started reading in like 86, and then
that's
I left
they did a whole campaign from like 86 to 92 promoting that school.
Wow.
Because
and I left for SVA in 88. So that year and a half, boy, I was just oblivious.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of guys
totally missed it.
Well, you figure Rick Veitch had come out of there. Steve Bissett came out of there. Oh, geez.
And I know tons of people
Jan Durst
that are my peers that went there.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just saying that late.
I know. I got a list as long as my arm of people in my peer group that went there. So yeah. I just never heard of it somehow. I missed it.
Yeah. And like I said, I knew of it, but I didn't think about going there because I was like, yeah, but I'm a writer. I don't need to go to art school to write. I need to go to.
Yeah.
I got to get my English and my other stuff. So that's why.
I'm glad that I ended up in SVA though.
Well, I
loved having New York City as my that was the greatest growth experience for me. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world.
Yeah. So
and I loved having Will Eisner as a teacher. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world either.
Oh, geez.
I had him for 2 years, and I adore that man. He was so good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't. I mean, between Joe Kubert and Will Eisner, I mean, take your pick. You're not. Losing.
Yeah, I know. To having Joe Kubert would have been pretty special too. I have to say, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Kubert had a lot of people over there that were exceptional. I mean, Dick was over there.
Yeah.
Quite a few people, but I'm sure you guys had your fair share at the visual arts school too in New York. I mean, that's one of the biggest commercial art and comics schools in the country too, to be honest.
We did okay. Yeah. They had a lot of big people come in right after I left.
Mm.
But we did okay. I had Joe Orlando, Carmine Infantino, Sal Amendola. So I mean, we did okay. But like literally like the year I graduated, the next year, Walt Simonson showed up. Mm-hmm. Klaus Janson showed up, and I'm like, "Are you kidding? Like, what? You couldn't come like 1 year earlier?"
I know the feeling.
What?
See, I told you before before the show, a couple hours ago, we were talking, and I told you about how when I was at Central Michigan, I co-founded the student group.
Yeah,
that's what I had to do, is form our own college of comic art. So I actually went to contacted the Kubert School, got their itinerary, and then applied it to what we were doing.
Oh, very good.
We just didn't have any experts to grade us per se. We just had We just had comic, normal art teachers who they knew commercial art somewhat. They knew, but they're still academia, kind of snooty. Yeah. So it was kind of a weird give and push type situation.
Yeah.
But that's what I did, because I couldn't afford to go to New York and New Jersey at the time. And it was just like, that was an interesting experience though, because I did have some communication with the Kubert people and stuff.
That was nice. It was nice that they would let you have their itinerary.
Yeah. Well, they didn't give me a full thing. They just gave me a base to work from, basically, and stuff.
Yeah.
So we could build a program, because we had like I said, we had like 35, 40 kids that were interested at the time. And this was right around the time the Image was starting to form.
Yes.
And we had people that were basically doing their own individualized study groups and doing their own books and stuff. And it's like, but we need to know what we're doing. You can't just learn from looking at somebody else's comic and say, well, I'll do this. You have to, there is structure. There is not just in terms of laying out a page, but showing people how to do design so that your eye flows a certain way to read a page.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And teaching, how to create like the right line weight and shadow effects to help draw what you want the emphasis is to be and stuff like that. And you don't get that unless you have someone who knows what they're doing with the narrative.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And that was something that, I always had a fight with our art history teacher. He was a snob, and he was like, comic books aren't real art. And I'm like, but he's going to sit there and praise, who did his comic book paintings, Lichtenstein.
Yeah.
And I was like, screw you, man. Yes. I was like, And the thing is, what really annoyed me was he was like a huge cinema nut. So he has all these posters of all these classic movies and stuff. And I'm like, you do realize that all those movies had to have storyboards to them.
That's right.
He goes, well, yeah. I said, well, what the hell do you think comics are?
That's right. That's right.
It's just a different format. It's the same stuff that you got to learn. So what you're teaching us is not just comics. You're teaching us for film. Once he figured that out, he kind of, he stopped being a dick. But,
at least that's a small improvement.
Right.
Exactly. I always heard the same thing. When I worked at the big advertising agency in Chicago here, a lot of my coworkers, there was a group of about 8 of us that were drawing storyboards all the time for the art directors. And a lot of them went to the American Academy here in Chicago. And they would tell me about, like, here it was like, well, you went there, or maybe you went to Columbia or the Art Institute, but you don't go to the Art Institute because they're all like anti-comics. They're like, they won't teach comics. They don't want anything to do with comics. They're exactly like what you were talking about. They're all they're all art snobs, and they don't want to legitimize comics in any way, shape, or form. It's just I hate hearing that kind of stuff. You can't teach pop art. Well, exactly.
I mean, that's what I tell them. And he's making a big deal about these pop artists. I'm like, well, all I did was paint up one panel of someone else's artwork. That's why is that art that the original person did the original drawing, not an artist? I want to know. Give me an answer.
Well, and storytelling is one of the oldest, forms of art in humanity. It started with verbal storytelling and then cave paintings and so
paintings aren't art. That's like comics. That's
exactly. I mean,
this is the kind of stuff I would cut up my teachers like that. If that's not art, then this isn't art. I think a lot of the thing with the artists in art schools, if they haven't been successful artists in their own right, they tend to criticize other people's success more than anything else.
Yeah. It's funny. My freshman year at School of Visual Arts, your freshman year is very regimented, and they kind of throw everybody together.
Sure.
The fine art majors, the cartooning and illustration majors, even the photography majors, they're all kind of lumped together. And so you're taking drawing, you're taking painting, your photography class.
Your basic stuff, right?
All the basics. Yeah, you're doing all the basics together. And
it's important to know all that stuff together because, people don't realize that, okay, well, if I'm going to be a comic book artist, why do I need to know painting? So that you can learn color theory, so that you can understand light.
That's exactly right. Yes. You're learning design basics. You're learning color theory. Yes, you're learning all those basic stuff that everybody needs to know, no matter what discipline they go into after that.
Photography, you're like, well, why do I need to learn about photography? Because you need to understand, because you might end up not working the creative, but you might end up working production.
Well, even as an illustrator or a comic book artist, you're going to have to take reference photographs all the time. And now we have cameras that do everything for you, but back then we didn't. So you still had to know how to use the camera. And a single lens, an SLR camera, you had to know how to use it.
Well, not just to use the camera, but how to use a darkroom.
That's right. Yes, how to use a darkroom. That's right.
How you develop your film was just as important as how you took your shot.
Yes. But anyway, so in that freshman year, when we're all lumped together, we just had hours and hours and hours of arguments between the fine art majors and the illustration majors and stuff about why fine art was better than illustration, or why being a working artist who gets paid to draw was superior to having to work a job as a waiter or a taxi driver,
Mhm.
and then doing your art on the weekends. And like, let me tell you, we got all of those arguments completely out of our system by the end of freshman year. We're just numb to all of that stuff by the end of that.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, if I never have that discussion again in my entire life, that would be just fine.
And then you wait for the next class to come in, and they want to start it with you.
Yeah, like, nope, you can have it with your fellow classmates. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. I can remember all that.
I'm like, you just learn to like get past it. You just get over it. I'm like, look, I'm fine doing what I'm gonna do, and I leave the discussion to you guys.
Yeah, but is it art?
To me, it is. I don't care what you think.
Yeah. It's I've got a toilet bowl with an American flag in it. Is it art? It's a political statement. I don't know if it's art, but it's a political statement.
Yeah.
But anyway, But, so you were. This was about what time? 92, 93?
92 is when I graduated. So I started in 88 and then
Okay.
was
So you
there for
graduated
4 years.
in 92, and you went straight into the military after school.
Yeah, as soon as I graduated, I stayed in New York for the summer after I graduated. I painted this in exchange for a free place to stay over the summer. I painted the dorms. I helped a small crew paint all the dorms. That was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a lot of ins in the comic book industry. I had a lot of opportunities. I had done an internship at Marvel from 90 to 91. So I knew a lot of people there. In my senior year at
you're the first person I've had on the show who actually interned at Marvel. Tell us what that experience was like.
I loved it. I loved the heck out of it. It was fun. I'd go there a couple days a week and work 3 or 4 hours. I worked in Bobby Chase's office. Chris Cooper was the assistant editor. I knew Howard Mackey some. Marie Javins was there. She was on Akira at the time. Remember they were putting out the color version of Akira.
Mm-hmm. For Epic. Mm-hmm.
For Epic, yeah, that's right. Gosh, I remember Larry Hama would come in. He'd come in and sit on the couch on Fridays and take Xeroxes of G.I. Joe, of the artwork that the artist would send in, and he'd sit on the couch and take what do you call them? Just a Sharpie. He'd take a Sharpie and he would he'd like mark where he wanted all the word balloons to go.
Right.
Mark Texiera was doing
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. Thank you. And he'd come in. He'd come hustling, turning his pages for the week, and he'd be out in the bullpen trying to finish some last touches on stuff before he handed it in. It was fun. It was fun just seeing all the hustle and bustle going on every week.
Mm-hmm.
I would spend a lot of time running stuff to the FedEx. They had like their own FedEx place in the building there.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go back and forth to the FedEx place 20 times a day, sending stuff out to different people.
Right.
Me and the other interns would spend half the time gathered around the Xerox machine because, stuff's always coming in from the FedEx place too. So there's always new amazing art coming in, right? So, it's like, oh, what came in now? So everyone's like getting Xeroxes of this or that, so everyone's like, oh, make me another copy. So that was always kind of fun. I have some pretty cool stuff from that time period. Barry Windsor Smith was doing Weapon X at the time, so I have most of that in black and white, which is wow. That's pretty spectacular stuff.
The pencils are inks.
Inks.
Okay.
Inks. Just except towards the end, I did get a few pencils towards some of the later chapters. Just just spectacular stuff.
Yeah, that's always fun stuff to do. And see, I would have killed for that because as an inker, that's kind of how I learned how to be an artist, was to ink other people. Because when you're doing inking, you have to understand what they're doing, and then you gotta learn how they draw, type thing. But I would have killed for that with the pencils because I've been like, okay, I need photocopy so I can do practice until I'm ready.
Let me tell you, with Barry Windsor Smith, his pencils are pretty rough.
I know that
he's got ideas kind of going all over the place, and then he kind of knows what he's going to do with it.
Yeah.
So he just kind of leaves it rough. It's like, wow, okay, well, I'm glad he knows what he's going to do with it because I wouldn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I've seen some of his pencils like that before.
Like I wouldn't know how to make heads or tails.
What would you do with?
I think say again.
What would you do with John Buscema's pencils?
Yes, right. Some of his get pretty loose too. I think one of the best learning experiences I ever had, including all my time at SVA, was John Romita Jr. and John Byrne were working together on Iron Man at the time I was there. And so John Byrne would write these really old school Marvel plot style scripts. And he would write them like specifically to John Romita Jr. It just says right in the script, hey, John, do so-and-so or do this or I don't really know what to do here. It's like when they did the Iron Wars 2. Right. So it's like, he's having trouble controlling the armor because the other guy's kind of like taking control of the armor. So it's like, okay, so Tony's in the armor and he's kind of losing control. So he manages to get it to blast off into the air, but it's totally out of control. And just have him be out of control for a page and a half, go crazy. And so Howard Mackey would let me have John Byrne's scripts. He'd let me make copies of the scripts. So I would take those and I would try to lay out the issues, just looking at the scripts with no art to compare it to. I just had John Byrne's scripts, and so I would take those and I would lay out the issue, and then I would see John Romita Jr.'s work come in, who is a master storyteller.
Yes, a lot of people.
And then I would compare. Yeah, I would compare my layouts to his pencils, right? And then that was such a great learning opportunity for me, because then I'd be like, I could just see all the places where his mastery of the craft blew me out of the water, and then I could just absorb, because he was reading the exact same words I had read, and I could see where his experience and stuff were coming into play. I learned so much doing that. I did that for about 4 or 5 issues. Man, I learned so much doing that. That was better than any college course I could have ever taken.
Yeah, I totally get that. John Norris, who's one of my regular viewers, and he's also did you like the opening music credits?
Yeah, I did. I really did. Yeah,
that's his.
I almost commented on them. Oh, yeah. Great! I like that it has kind of a classic rock kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, I was looking for that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but he composed and plays that, and he sometimes is a co-host on the show as well. But he says good evening, and as always, we got to Mark Andrew Smith. If you don't know who Mark Andrew Smith is,
I know Mark.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
I figured Mark was lurking. He usually lurks.
Yeah, I've known Mark for a little. We've been friends on Facebook for a long.
John says, "Thank you. Glad you enjoy it."
I did.
What happened to Barry Windsor Smith? He just disappeared and is in witness protection.
Yes.
Actually, he's got a new book coming out this year.
Yes, he does. I'm so psyched. I couldn't be more excited. Yes. I practically my my jaw practically fell off when I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. I thought he was just doing private commissions from now until he dies. But yeah, he's got a new book coming out. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am about that.
That's cool. Well, let's get excited about your product. And
sure.
Called Recovery Incorporated. And I'm going to go ahead and share your Kickstarter page, if that's all right.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you want to go ahead and just play the video?
Sure, let's do it.
Hi, I'm Michael Penick. I've been a professional storyteller for over 20 years, working in advertising, film, illustration, motion graphics, and comics. I've worked for companies like Maytag, McDonald's, National Geographic Kids, Sports Illustrated, Boom Studios, Inside Edition, and many, many more. But I'm here because I'm tired of letting other people's creative endeavors take precedent over my own. And I realized recently, at the ripe old age of 51, that if I didn't start dedicating my life to getting my own stories drawn, stories that I've spent years developing and writing, that these stories would exist for no one but me. And that's just not what storytellers create stories for. Yeah, I wrote this great story, but it's too bad you didn't read it because it's only in here. I think Kickstarter is my future. I also happen to think it's the future of comics, maybe even publishing. It allows me the creative freedom to do my projects my way. I happen to have a pretty strong creative vision, and because I'm lucky enough to be able to draw as well as write, I'm one of the few people that gets to see my creative vision through all the way from the beginning to the very end. Backing this project will not only help me bring this and other projects to life, but will help you discover that with my stories, the answers are never so simple. Thank you so much for your time and hopefully your support.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about what this book is about.
Okay.
I'll let you go ahead and describe it. Do you want to read it from this, or do you want to tell them straight up?
I'll just tell them.
All right.
So Mia Raven, basically, she's kind of chiefly inspired by there's two major influences. The first one is Luc Besson's La Femme Nikita, which I saw way back in 90 or 91 when it came out.
Okay.
She was kind of the first really tough strong female protagonist that was like convincingly tough, that really kind of changed things for me. I was like, wow, that blew my mind. The other one is the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair with Rene Russo and Pierce Brosnan.
Okay.
Rene Russo's character also just totally blew my mind. It fascinated me. she's this character who works for the insurance companies, and her job is to try and retrieve. In that particular movie, her job is to try to retrieve the stolen painting, so that the insurance company doesn't have to cut a check for $100 million.
Right.
And so she's there to retrieve a stolen object, but she's not confined by the same rules that the police are. The police have to obey the law. They're trying to serve justice, but she's not. She just has to get the painting back. She doesn't have to worry about any of those other confines. Or any of those other rules or anything like that. That to me, I was like, what? That's like the coolest job I'd ever heard of in my life. I wanted to know more about her. I wanted to know so much more about her. I wanted a whole TV show about this woman, you know. But I wanted the grit and grime and the not so pitter patter past maybe that you get in La Femme Nikita's story. So I sort of had been wanting something like that. I've been wanting to create something like that for years and years and years. So that had been mulling over in my mind for a long time. So when I got asked to create something for this British magazine, for Strip Magazine UK, that's instantly what came to my mind. So I sat down with my best friend Dean, and I said, this is what I've been asked to do, and this is my idea. So I don't know, let's figure this out. So we just sat down together like we usually do, and we just started hammering it out. We started working on a backstory and creating the character until we had something we really liked and felt good about. And then we started coming up with a plot. We started coming up with a story idea. And
Your
then
mic's starting to rub against your clothes again.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So we started coming up with a plot and an idea, and I sort of wanted to go one direction with it. And Dean was like, no, you can't do that. That's too standard. You have to go the opposite way. You have to you have to do this other thing, because that's what people don't expect you to do. Now, and I didn't want to do it, and we fought about it for like 2 days, and then I eventually realized he was right. And so I gave in, and we did what he said because he was right, and that's how we do it.
Whoever's right, we go that way. Makes sense.
That's right. Yeah, I like working with my buddy Dean because when we work, we've been the best of friends for like 30 years, and when we work on something together, there's no ego involved. No, the egos get put by the wayside, and both of us, the only thing we care about is story. Story first, that's all that matters.
Characters or story. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yes. Story, character. Yeah. That comes first. Nothing else matters. So anything we argue about, it's for what we believe is best for the story. And so, that's how it goes. And one of us will eventually see that the other's right. And that's what we do.
Are you familiar with Modesty Blaze?
Yes, I sure am. I have a whole bunch of them on my shelf out there. In fact, her partner, when she was a detective, when Mia Raven was a detective, before she started working for the insurance companies, her partner's last name is Holdaway.
Okay.
Which was the original artist on Modesty Blaze.
Yep, that's why okay. Yeah, because I can see, when you were talking about this, I'm like, this sounds like Modesty Blaze influenced product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's a tribute to Modesty Blaze. Yeah.
Okay. So
absolutely.
Yeah. See, I didn't even know about the Holdaway thing, but I just, all I've seen is your Kickstarter for the stuff. And I was like, okay. As you're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, this is Modesty Blaze related. This is definitely influenced by Modesty Blaze.
Definitely, it's definite influence.
It doesn't mean that you intentionally did that or even knew about it, because there's so many people in this, even in our field, who don't know history.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
I'm luckily, because where I went to school and having teachers of the generation I had, I got introduced to a lot of great things. So
Yeah.
I know some history.
Yeah. Well, I'm still learning. We're all, I think.
There's an endless amount to learn, I mean,
Yep.
I didn't learn who Alex Toth was until I was out of, no one at my school ever mentioned Alex Toth. So I didn't know about him until I was out of college. So,
Yeah.
And now he's like one of my favorite artists of all time.
Yeah. Mark says he loves Romita Jr.'s art, especially the Spider-Man run, and he says hi to you.
Hey, Mark. Yes, JR Jr. is another one of my favorites of forever, because
Well, you probably
I discovered
this from when you were an intern there. I mean, I had to learn from inking other people, a lot of it,
Yeah.
And I got Kyle Holtz, Gene Ha, Eddie Newell, Perez actually sent me stuff to work on. Francesca.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So
you would actually ask people, and they would send you stuff to ink?
Yep.
That's wonderful. I love it that they would be nice enough to send you stuff to ink.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was, I would ask them, it wasn't just for me, it was for the class.
For the whole group.
Yeah. And we'd all, everybody would do the same thing, and, compare and see who did the best work and why and everything. And
that's still great. I think it still shows how nice so many people in the comics community are, that artists would send you guys stuff to ink. I think that's great. And again, just like I was telling you this afternoon, I applaud your ingenuity and your go-get-itness, that you were just ballsy enough to just go and say, hey man, can you give us some stuff?
Yeah. Well, I think what it was I had started out in the Amateur Press Alliance scenes, so I already had a few people I knew in comics, because they'd gone from the Apis to the pros, and so they were like, "Yeah, he's cool." He's not trying.
That's good.
He's not trying to take your art and make it his own and then sell it or something like that. Which of course people do now, unfortunately, way too much. But
yeah, I know. Yes, yeah.
But
I would have been too shy to ask anybody anything like that.
Well, I think being a writer, I had to be communicative to artists, because I was like, well, if I'm ever going to get anywhere, I've got to hire some of these people to draw it if I don't learn how to do myself.
Yeah, that's true.
So, because with writing, it's almost impossible to get in unless you have an art connection of some sort, especially.
Yeah.
And maybe not so much these days, I don't know, but definitely back in the 80s and 90s, you had to have art connected to really get seen. And so I had that kind of situation where I was like, okay, I'm just going to talk to people, and the worst they can do is say no, right?
That's right. Yes, that's exactly right.
So
it took me quite a while to learn that. It's funny you talk about the writing and art. That's something I learned very early on, because I was telling you earlier that I gravitated to drawing, but it was always my drawing is always in service of telling a story. So the writing sort of always came along with the drawing for me, but I learned very quickly that it's way easier. It's easy if you can do both. It's so much easier to gravitate towards drawing, because you can show someone a drawing and they'll look at it and you'll get an instantaneous reaction. But if you write something, it's hard to get someone to read something you write. They have to take it. It involves an investment of their time. And then to get an opinion back on something that you wrote is even harder.
It's concentration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Art is visceral.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You can. Yeah.
And then there is a different level of art when you are concentrating on it, that you will get a different reaction than what you did to the original reaction from just seeing something. I mean, how many times have you seen art and you go, "Oh, wow, that's awesome," and then you take a closer look at it and, well, wait a minute. There's a lot of
That's
stuff.
right. You start to analyze it and break it down and think about it on another level. Yes, that's right. Yeah. But like
with writing, writing you have to do this. You don't have the initial. You automatically are in the breakdown. At least I.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If you give 100 people, if you wrote a short story or a comic book script, say, and you can actually convince 100 people to take it who say they'll read it. How many of them are actually going to read it? 10, 5? Obviously, getting someone to read something you wrote is so hard. It's crazy hard.
Yep. Okay, let's get back to your book here. And of course, you were talking about how Mia is basically the founder who goes after stolen items that the police.
Yeah, she had a bad past. She was in with a bad crowd, and, but she luckily was able to get out from that with a clean record. She becomes a detective, but she doesn't really play by the rules very well. So she finds a way to be able to try and do the good work, but play by the bad guy's rules, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, she ends up working for insurance companies or wealthy people trying to get valuable objects back for a percentage of the value of the object, basically.
Okay.
Now, it's a high risk, high reward game.
This is a 24-page, oversized, 9 by 12-inch European formatted comic. That means it's actually quite large.
Yes, it is.
And it's a 4-issue limited series. I love that you use a raven for the logo for the character. And of course, that's because the character's name is Mia Raven. But I mean, it's kind of funny because
actually, she's from Portugal, and so her name is actually a Portuguese name, which you'll learn her real name in the comic,
right?
But when she comes to the States, she simplifies her name to a more simple name, so her adopted more American name is Mia Raven,
right? But I just love that logo.
Yeah.
Now you've got you're co-writing with your friend Dean Deckard, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and then you've got a colorist, John Roush, who most people who are familiar with computer colors, John is one of the top colorists in the industry.
Yes.
You certainly can't. You're not going wrong with that kind of a team there.
No, John's great. I've worked with John quite a few times. Now, I love getting pages back from John.
Now you've got a digital format for $4, which is not bad.
Sir.
Then you get the digital deluxe edition. Okay, which is basically the regular book, but you also get the same issue.
Again, in black and white, but in no text. So you're getting to see all the pages. You're getting to see the inked pages.
Okay.
Without anything else getting in the way.
Okay. Plus,
and then I'm also going to have samples of the script and some pencils and character sketches and stuff like that.
Okay, interesting. All right. And then the $11 is a print copy of issue number 1.
Yeah.
Now, a lot might think that that's a little bit steep, but keep in mind, this is an oversized book. This is literally twice up a normal standard American comic.
Not quite twice, but yeah, it's pretty big. It's as wide as most comics are tall.
Yeah.
And that does include domestic shipping.
Okay. Yeah. Well, here, let's. This is 8.5 by 11, and yours is 9 by 12.
Yeah, so it's a little bigger than that.
So you're talking about like that much bigger in the height.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite a big book.
I just received some of my shipping supplies in the mail the other day. I'm like, wow, these are big bags.
He goes, I read my brother's screenplays, but he doesn't read anything of mine. My uncle can't be bothered either.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your own family won't even read it.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's okay. My wife doesn't even care what I'm drawing, much less what I write.
There you go, I guess.
Yeah. She's just like, check out the garbage and make up the bed and and feed the cats.
$12 gets you digital and print set. Okay.
Yeah, digital print set. Yeah. Yep.
And then $25.
To make sure the digital backers have some more than just the book.
Mm-hmm. 3 print copies. That's all 3 covers to complete your collection for $25, which is a reasonable price since you figure 1 is $11. You're getting 3 for $25. That's a good deal. Question though. Some of these say March 21st and some of them say June.
The stuff that's digital only is earlier because I don't have to wait for books to go through the mail system.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
So everything that's print is going to be June because it just.
I just want clarification on that. That's all.
Right.
All righty. For 27 more, you get the print and the print set, as well as a digital. You get an original sketch card. Okay, that's cool. How many of those are you going to do? It says first come, first serve.
Well, what I mean by that is not that there's a limitation, but that I've pre-drawn a whole bunch of them. They're all of Mia Raven.
Okay.
And so what I do is in the order that people at that tier, I contact them, and then I have them all up on on my Lux Comics website. I have them up on a page, and so I contact each backer in turn, and I say, which one would you like? And they pick which one they want. And then I mark that one as taken, and then I contact the next person in the order at which they signed that pledge, and so on and so forth.
That makes sense. Okay. Cover bundle and print set. Quite a bit of stuff here. Cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of pledge tiers.
No, that's a good thing. I mean, if you're going to do them, I mean, I'm looking for one that's for retailers. Do you have a retailer one?
I don't. No, this is my very first Kickstarter, so I didn't expect. I really didn't expect to have this kind of success, and I just didn't. Yeah, I really didn't think about that. I will definitely think about that moving forward, though. Yeah.
Well, you got 6 days to go, and as you can see, he's got 357 backers, and he's well over his goal. So you're going to get what if you decide to back this product, you're going to get whatever it is you order. That's always a good thing. I know a lot of people always hesitate on crowdfunding for that reason. This is your first one, so you really don't have the knowledge. Mark's done several Kickstarters with his Gladstone School for World Conquerors.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with his books at all?
Oh yes, I have them. I've backed all of them. I feel bad. The only ones of Mark's I haven't backed are these single edition things he's done. I've had a tight budget recently. I'm waiting for him to put the trade collection out of those, and then I'll get that one.
See, there you go, because that's when I got involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is actually a print that's going out with the Martian Jones.
Nice. That's a nice big print too.
This is the original art. It's going to actually computer colored, and Armand's in the process of shipping them out as we speak, and I'm supposed to get my copies hopefully mailed next week.
Very nice.
Books have been out for a while though. The books are. When did when did the books come out? November or early December? I think it was.
Yeah, I have the volumes. I have the 2 volumes. I also have the New Brighton Academy things he did, and Sullivan Sluggers. I've been with Mark. I've been with Mark for a while now.
Yeah, but definitely, yeah. Mark says he joined a writers group because once and that is a good thing to have an artist group or a writers group, because then there's always somebody who's interested in your work and will go ahead and give you some feedback.
Yes.
So, like you say, those people are like gold, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
When you have those kind of
things. Absolutely.
They're hard to come by though. Even
absolutely.
With the groups.
Yes.
Let's see.
Especially ones that you know and trust, like you trust their writing instincts.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ones that are really valuable.
Yeah. But you've got so many different things. Let's take a little bit more look at the artwork here on the book.
So also, by the way, my book is done and it's ready to go to print. Okay. And I have the printer all lined up and everything, so that's good to go.
Whoops. No, I don't want to continue. I'll have to reset this. Let me see if I can reset it real quick. There we go. I hate when it does that.
Yeah.
There we go. That's one of the pages to the interior. Yeah, as I told you before, last week or the week before, we had Carl Kiesel and Aaron Lepresti on the show, and we were talking about his Impossible Jones character, which of course is a thief who becomes a superhero who is actually still a thief.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is interesting, because he made mention of this book to me, and it was like, oh, I have to check this out.
Yes, I owe Carl a big thank you. I owe him several big thank yous.
Yeah. Well, Carl's always been cool. I mean, this is interesting to me.
I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan of his, not only of his inking, but of his writing as well.
Sure, definitely.
His books are fun.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
I mean, it sounds simple, but that's just, I can't think of a better word to describe it. His books are just good fun. They're just
right.
I don't know a better way to describe it, really.
Well, he's serious about what he does, but he doesn't take the work too seriously.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yes, and I love that. I just absolutely love that.
Not trying to, I don't know. Everybody in this industry is like trying to write the great American dystopian novel or something. I don't know.
Yes, that's right. Yes, everyone's trying to be so serious. Everyone wants to do the next Dark Knight Returns. But Frank already did it.
It's like, yeah, Frank already did it, but it's just like, can you do something else?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do V for Vendetta, or I'll do the next Watchmen. Those have been done. What else you got?
That's right. That's right. All of those have been done. Yeah.
What else you got?
And Carl, just like his books have, they're just infused with this enthusiasm and fun. That's kind of infectious. I just love them.
So these are 24-page books. There's gonna be 4 of them.
Yeah.
You got the first one done. You're working on issue 2 since
I'm working on issue 2. Yeah. Although I'm going to have to stop working on issue 2 and do a 4-page prologue to add to issue 1, because that's my $10,000 stretch goal, is to add 4 pages to issue 1. And it looks like, I don't know, we might just make it maybe. So I have to be prepared.
Yeah. This is interesting to me.
So my book is not quite as lighthearted as Carl's.
Definitely, yours is definitely like I said, yours is more Modesty Blaze type.
Yes, yes, but it has some humor in it, but it's kind of a dark humor.
Right. Yes. And what age group would you say this is for?
I have a thing on my page that says it's for mature audiences.
I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. Mature audiences for me is 16 and up, but
I would say mine is for. Well, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to say it's for 21 and up.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't get into. There's not actual. Well, not in this issue. There might be a little bit in the next issue, but there's not nudity in this issue. But there are definitely. There's definitely sexuality in it and adult situations that it refers to, that kind of thing. So it's definitely for mature audiences.
Okay. Well, Mark said that those individual Gladstones came out, he wants to say in October. And then he goes, yeah, Sullivan's a classic. And he says, you have great numbers for your first Kickstarter, which you do. As far as a dollar figure goes.
Yeah.
That's one thing. We were talking about Kickstarter earlier today, and you were praising it quite a bit. I've always, and this is not a reflection on your book, this is more a reflection of the guys on Indiegogo and Kickstarter that have gotten these huge totals of dollars.
Yeah.
And they kind of like brag like they're the shit now. We're the ones that are ruling the roost. And I'm like, yeah, but look at your backer numbers. Your backer numbers are actually lesser than what. If I have to equate those as each backer is one copy, you're at rank 200 in the Diamond Top 300. You're not ruling the roost.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, I'm trying to figure out where do we find the balance where we can start charging. I don't want to say, I understand why $11 is your price point, but I think you yourself would love to be able to do it and have 10,000 or 15,000 backers and sell it for $4.
Yeah, of course. I think that's a place that I would endeavor to get to. It's a place that you build to. Yeah. By going the Kickstarter route, right? I can do my issues here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can put out a hardback that collects these 4 issues.
Right.
And then I have plans on starting another title. If let's say this goes well, okay, because I don't want to assume, but let's say that if I continue to run campaigns and I deliver quality product in time, and I do good press and everything goes according to plan. My second so my second Kickstarter is bigger than this one, and my third Kickstarter is bigger than that one. So then I have a hardback compilation of the first story arc. at that point, I would hope to employ a marketing specialist to help push that book to another level.
Okay.
To really push it to, an order of magnitude higher for backers, and from there, not only be able to, for me to start the second story arc of Incorporated, but have the funds to start another title that I've been working on for years, but I could hire another A-list talent to start drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole time I'm building my brand.
Okay.
In the meantime, I've now positioned the first book of Recovery Incorporated into a position where I've got a nice big hardback book
mm-hmm.
that a publisher mm-hmm. might actually have a legitimate interest in,
right,
to help push it out into a bigger market.
Right.
And I am also in a much better place to sit at a bargaining table and negotiate how that's going to happen.
Exactly. Okay.
So that's the idea. That's the plan. Because I would most certainly like to have it in libraries.
Oh, sure.
And in bookstores,
mm-hmm.
And potentially comic shops, of course. Yeah, but it's as far as business plans go,
mm-hmm.
it's
one step at a time.
You take it one step at a time, right? Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm sure you're familiar with how Ethan Van Sciver runs his mouth. Here's my multi-million-dollar cyber frog, and I'm like, yeah, but you only got 10,000 backers. That means you're selling. Yeah. Now, obviously, he's selling more than 10,000 units because there's people who are buying multiple copies and other things like that. But I've always wondered. I always wish there was some transparency, I guess, with Kickstarter and Indiegogo that actually showed what the people were actually printing, the number of copies to their backers.
Well, okay, so that's a great point, but that's kind of that's part of it. That's part of the process. When you it's funny because when people back stuff on Kickstarter, and I totally understand this, I'm totally behind
mm-hmm.
The people who back stuff on Kickstarter.
Oh, I am too. I'm not saying you should.
People who come to. Oh no, I'm not saying you're not. I'm just prefacing what I'm about to say.
Okay.
People who back stuff on Kickstarter, they're not really into backing exorbitant levels of things. They're not into backing your salary for a year,
right,
while you do something and things like that. They're not really into that. There are rare exceptions to that. Jake Parker, who ran quite a few successful Kickstarters, and really proved himself to his audience, earned the right to ask for that with his audience, and gained success and was able to do that, but only because he had earned that by the successful Kickstarters he ran and delivered successfully to his audience before that. But there's been numerous very successful comic book artists who have come to the platform to try and get their own books done and wanted to be paid their regular page rate to produce the book, and they've walked away with unsuccessful campaigns. And that's just because that the Kickstarter audience they don't really want to pay for that. And I get why the comic book artists want to ask for that, because they want to continue to make a living. I think that's reasonable. But I also understand why the Kickstarter audience doesn't really want to pay for that.
If you're gonna pay for it, I mean, like I said, if I'm gonna do something like I was gonna do a monthly comic, I would want people to try and like buy a mail order subscription like we used to have. 6 run or a 12-issue run, and I would make that part of the tiers you could buy. And then I said, if I was going to go up to the $7,500 tiers, okay, now you add T-shirts, now you add posters, now you add different things, and but I call that a fan club membership. That's what I call it. It's just maybe that's just me being old school. I don't know. But I look at other people and they're just like, well, no, we're gonna put a Kickstarter out for the action figure and for the T-shirt and for that. I'm like, oh yeah.
But it's not that much different actually. What you're saying is it's kind of like that. Mm-hmm. You pledge this level, you get these things. You pledge that level, you get those things. I mean,
I don't mind that. I just would put it all in one lump sum to begin with as a rule, and just say, here you go.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah, but okay. So on our end, like it's the same balance you're always trying to strike with any a business endeavor. You're trying to make a little bit of profit, but you're also trying to give the customer a good value for their money.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So you got to try to find the balance there. I'm not making much profit, but I'm making just a little bit. I'm making just enough to pay a colorist to color issue 2 to get, so I can get my book colored in a timely manner so that I can get my second Kickstarter, hopefully launched as soon as I get book 1 in everybody's hands.
Right.
That's the idea. So like I send everything media mail. By the time it gets to their hands in hopefully late May, by June I'll be able to start my second Kickstarter, and I'll have the book done. That's the idea, and hopefully that everybody likes what they read and is excited and ready for issue 2. Then I'll have hopefully a large my backer come back, and then more people will come to say, like, I've heard about this. Oh, dadgummit. Sorry. So hopefully more people will come back and say, I've heard about this. See what all the hubbub's about. But I want to get issue catch up on that.
Yeah.
The place where we as Kickstarter people can try to start to get ahead a little bit is in one of the things you actually mentioned, where you said, well, how many are they actually printing? That's kind of the idea is when they're paying for their print copies, what you hope to be able to do. So let's say I end up needing to print 500 copies, right, to cover all my backers. Well, hopefully I've made enough money that I can get a print run of 1,000.
Right.
That's what I would hope. And so therefore, I will have enough copies to send to my backers. And then I'll have enough when issue 2 comes along that I'll have enough in stock to cover those who pledged for number 1 in the second campaign. So I'm not having to pay for another print run of issue 1, or when the pandemic's not around, I'll have 500 copies left, to take to conventions and sell. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what Mark means by that. That Tony Harris guy tried that and it didn't take.
Tony Harris tried to do a Kickstarter and get paid a page rate.
Okay. Well,
yeah, and it didn't work.
Okay. I don't know what to say to that, because I mean, he's certainly a big enough name, but yet he's, I don't know. It's a weird thing, with that. I mean, you really have to be a big name, and I don't. He's good, but I don't know if he's really the top guy that would draw that kind of a.
Well, I mean, he's good. He's talented, and he's a very proven working professional. But just because you're a working professional within the comic book industry doesn't mean you're automatically going to come to a public funding platform and automatically have everyone's trust. It's kind of a different beast.
It is. Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like how John Byrne used to have his faithful 50 or stupendous 70,000 that always went everywhere he went.
Yeah.
And then when he stopped doing Next Men and Danger Unlimited because he didn't hit that 100K plateau that he thought he deserved or more, because he thought he was better than Rob and Jim and Todd and Image and stuff, and he took his toys and went home, he never really captured the same fan base after that.
Well, but it's funny. That's true, but the entire industry was
changing too.
Not hitting those marks anymore.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't the only one not hitting those marks.
Yeah. Well, no,
nobody was hitting those marks anymore.
Yeah. Well, he was still doing okay. I mean, Next Man hit around 70 to 80,000. But
I know he was probably doing as good as anybody was.
And then when he did Danger Unlimited, which he figured he was going to get more because it was more. Next Man was more mature readers. This was going to be more of a PG-13, and it was him doing FF, but not really FF. He thought he was going to get 100K, and he only got 55 on that book. And that was when he started getting kind of grumpy.
World. But it's a fascinating study because once the collecting the collecting bubble was over, everybody on Wall Street was collecting covers because they thought it was this big investment opportunity. once that bubble kind of popped, and so many people started to flock away from collecting comics because they weren't really into reading comics.
Right.
The numbers started to dwindle, and they never recovered. They continued to drop ever since. And so while he may have felt personally hurt by quote unquote fans, he may have in fact been a victim of just something that was happening industry wide.
Oh yeah, I think he realized that after the fact. But yeah, I mean, when he did that and he took his toys and went home and went on hiatus, with the creator-owned stuff, and went back to doing Marvel DC, I was like, yeah, but I've already seen you do everything Marvel and DC. I don't care.
He'd pretty much done everything, hadn't he?
Yeah, I was like, and I'm sitting here busting my ass promoting Next Men and Danger Unlimited. I got him almost 2,000 readers on Next Men during that first like whatever it was, 20, 30 issues he did before he took off. And I was just like, okay. But by the time he came back to Next Men, it was like a decade and a half later.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm glad you finally told the end of the story, but at the same time,
things changed by then.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was definitely not getting anywhere with that. But I mean, it was just like, I'm not gonna go do Wonder Woman, but who cares? I just quit Wonder Woman. Seriously, I just quit Wonder Woman when he got on it, and I'm like, okay, I'll give you a year. If this isn't like the best thing you've ever done, I'm done. And it wasn't, not even close. So it was like, after that, it was like, unless it's creator owned and it's something I actually I'm not getting any more burn. And that's
hard. That's hard too. That's a hard ask for someone who's been at it for so long.
Well, no, that's a hard ask for someone like me who had everything he had done since '74.
Well, yeah, that too.
Like I was like the third degree burn victim. He calls his fans burn
Yeah.
victim, as you might know.
Yeah.
I always called myself a third degree burn victim after everything he ever did. And then when he did that, I was just like, you know what? This isn't worth it.
That's a good pun, by the way.
Yeah, it is. But you know, it's interesting though. I mean, but he never recovered from that period. A lot of people didn't, like you say.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting though. That, like you say, it's a case study, not just what happened between 90 and 96, from the point where Image Partners started to really build their brand and before they left for Image, to what Marvel was trying to do before they went off to buy Heroes World, because they were trying to do they're trying to build their own stores, Marvel Marts.
Oh yeah.
And that didn't work. And of course, whoever it was, Perelman or whoever, that Revlon guy that bought all that stock into Marvel in the late 80s, early 90s, and he's like, I'm going to buy Toy Biz, I'm going to buy Panini, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that. All this stuff that was failing, and that's why Marvel failed, because they had all this in debt from these other companies. It's crazy.
Yes.
I wish
that was definitely a crazy time.
Yeah. And you were there. I mean, how did that affect you?
I was gone by then.
Yeah, were you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you were an intern right before that then.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's right.
All right. Yeah.
I was running around in the woods during all this stuff you're talking about.
Yeah. Running around the woods? I thought you were in Egypt.
I was in the army for during all this stuff.
Yeah, that's good, I guess, right? Well, speaking of the army, how did that change your attitude with, not just the world, because I mean, you went overseas, you saw a lot of things over there in Egypt and Middle East before we had the Gulf War issues, but also the discipline of going into the military. How did that translate to comics for you?
That's a good question. It helped tremendously. First of all, I have ADD. I have attention deficit syndrome, and I didn't know it. I didn't know that until I was getting close to 40. When I finally found out about it and I started educating myself about it, I was like, oh, that completely explains my childhood. It explains so many things. It's like watching somebody else put together a puzzle of my entire life, before my eyes. But when I graduated college in '92, like I'd had a lot of ins. I had been at Marvel and knew a lot of people there. I could go by the offices at any time and show people work and talk to people. My senior year at SVA, I had Denny O'Neil was. I took a writing. I had taken 2 years of screenwriting.
You got a lot out of him.
Yeah, well, I had taken creative writing my freshman year, and then I took 2 years of screenwriting after that, and then in my senior year, I took writing for comics. It was taught by Denny O'Neil, and he thought my work was of a professional level back then, and so he took me out to lunch and let me come by his offices on a regular basis. And we talked a lot, and he was sort of thinking about hiring me to do some work and stuff. So I had regular access to the DC offices as well. But I knew I wasn't ready. I don't know. I just knew I wasn't ready. I don't know what it was inside of me, but my gut told me that you're not ready for this, man. You're not fast enough. You're not disciplined enough. If someone handed you a job today, it would take you 6 months to finish it. And I'm graduating from college. I don't know how I would ever make enough money to find a place to live anywhere around here. I'm going to be homeless on the street trying to do a job, like draw, I don't know. I just didn't know how I didn't know how I was going to do anything. And this one thing that all my writing teachers had consistently said, just kept ringing in my ears over and over and over again. They said, to be a great writer, you need life experience.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I was born and raised in the South, in Alabama, and then I spent my teen years in Texas, and then I came and lived 4 years in New York City, which was pretty good life experience. I don't know. I felt like I needed more. So I don't know. I listened to that instinct.
I think even though you move around a lot, in our youth, we're sheltered.
Yeah,
that's part of it. And
I had good, loving parents.
Sure, but we're still
sheltered. Yeah,
we're sheltered.
So that definitely makes you sheltered. Yeah.
And I mean, we probably all had different crazy experiences as kids, but we don't know how to live until we're out of the house and we're thrown in the water, basically. Because that's what happens. You get thrown. College is like you're in the wading pool, and then when you get out of college, you're thrown in the deep water. Or if you don't go to college, then you're just thrown in the deep water as a general rule.
Yeah, I think that's really true because like being in New York 4 years, sort of on my own was, I gained a lot of confidence in myself, but I mean, I still had my parents helping me out financially. So, you're still kind of sheltered that way. And so my parents had always said, once you're done with college, you're on your own. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not ready to be on my own and trying to be breaking into this industry. I don't know. I just wasn't ready to do all those things at once. And I really, storytelling and writing, even though I'd spent all this time working on becoming a good artist, draw, being able to write and tell stories, being able to do both of those together was what was most important to me.
Sure.
So I wanted that life experience part was really important to me. So I don't know. I one Saturday morning, I picked up the phone and I called the Marine Corps recruiting station, and I get the answering machine, and it was some sergeant, some gunny sergeant or whatever. You've reached the United States Marine Corps. If you've got the balls, leave your number, and we'll get back to you. And I was like, and I hung up the phone as fast as I could. And I was like, maybe the Army is a better opportunity for me.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I looked up the Army recruiting number and I called that number, and some guy says, "This is Sergeant Lee. This is Staff Sergeant Lee, United States Recruiting Office. How can I help you?" And I was like, "Oh, this is way more my speed."
Oh my
God. So I went down there, and then I said, I want the most mentally and physically challenging thing you have to offer. Yeah. So that's what I did. I joined the Army.
Yeah.
which seemed way less crazy than the Marine Corps.
The Marine. I have to laugh at that. I just,
So as a all my family and friends, who know me as this guy, right? They're all like, "What? You joined the army?" I was like, "Yeah." So it actually was great. I got to tell you, but like I told you earlier,
you use your artistic skills and stuff like that.
Listen, no. I did a little bit, but I learned very quickly to hide that. You got to hide that stuff because they'll take advantage of it, and you'll just be the guy that's always doing that stuff.
I'm just talking about, there are MOs in the military.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, I could have done that. Yeah, so when you go to the recruiting station, I told the guy, I said, I want the hardest, I want the most physical and mentally challenging thing you have to offer. And they go, well, let's sit you down. You take the ASVAB, which is the test that they see how smart you are and what you qualify for.
Right.
So I took the ASVAB and I did really well. And they said, well, you can be any of these things. You could be a nuclear scientist. You can be an intelligence. You can do all these things. And I'm like, but those aren't physically and mentally challenging. That's not what I want. And they're like, well, okay. They're like, so the one guy called the other guy over and I'm like,
not necessarily physically challenging. Gotcha.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I wanted the physically challenging, and by mentally challenging, I meant physically challenging to the point that it would be mentally challenging to see whether or not I could survive it. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know. Do you think he could handle it? And he's like, they're looking me up and down. They're like, I don't know. He's kind of skinny. But then they're like, I don't know, maybe, who knows? So they let me sign up for Airborne Ranger. So that's what I did. I went to basic and airborne school. And then I was supposed to go to Ranger indoctrinal program and then go to a Ranger battalion. But I hurt my knee in airborne school. So I ended up going to Ranger indoctrinal program and I ended up going to the 101st Airborne, which is, and then 3 months later, I was in Egypt in the Sinai, which is where I got to do lots of scuba diving in the Red Sea. Was taught by Army divers to scuba dive, which was a blast. Then I came back and I
someone loses their stuff that was stolen and they lost it overseas. She gets to go scuba diving to hunt it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, I learned advanced open water scuba diving. Then I started skydiving for fun when I got back, and I ended up getting to try out for the 101st Airborne Command Parachute Demonstration Team. Huh?
My mom.
Oh, you got your cat. Yeah. So I was a professional skydiver for a little over a year and a quarter.
Okay.
You
messed up your knee, you said.
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad. In the end, it healed okay. I just didn't heal quickly enough to be able to get back into the Ranger indoctrinal program in time.
Okay.
But I ended up being part of a professional skydiving team, so I think that was a lot better. Yeah. When I got to a line unit, I got to go to a pre-Ranger school. That was kind of fun. That was 10 days of pure hell. That was enough. That proved everything about my manhood that I'll ever need to prove at all. So that satisfied all of that. That was 10 days of 1 meal a day and 1 hour of sleep a day. And like 12-mile forced road marches a day with heavy weapons, and having to listen to intense lessons on op orders and stuff with no sleep, and then being tested on it, and then go do live fire exercises on day like 8 and 9 in the woods when you're like so sleep deprived you're seeing things. That was insanity. So that was great. I got to go to air assault school and do fast roping out of helicopters and
I remember, folks,
all that kind of stuff.
4 years in the Army. Look at all this stuff you got to do.
I know. That's what I mean. It was great. I got to go to primary leadership development school, and I got my sergeant stripes. So it was invaluable. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world either, even though it put me 4 years behind all my peers that I went to school with. And I had to, my art, huh?
It did, but it didn't, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And my art skills atrophied quite a bit. So it took me quite a few years to get my art skills back to where they were when I had joined the Army. So it took a toll. The life experience I gained was everything I had hoped to gain in 1,000 times more. So in the end, I think that it was well worth it. It was so worth it. I think what it informs me of as a writer, and what it allows me to bring to the things that I write is I couldn't. It's worth 1,000 times its weight in gold, for sure.
Sharm
el-Sheikh. Yeah, that's right. And Dahab, yeah. Mark knows because he's taught English ESL overseas. Yeah, that's right. When I was in the Sinai, South Camp was right next to Sharm el-Sheikh. We used to go hang out at the beach there all the time. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I learned. That's how I learned the value of deodorant.
On the trading market?
No. Because the first time we ever went to Sharm el-Sheikh, we get off the little bus, and me and some of my friends there were walking over to the beach, and we see all these really pretty French and Italian girls playing volleyball on the beach there from a distance. And we're like, wow, they're so pretty, and this is so great. This is awesome. I didn't think we'd be able to meet pretty girls like this in the middle of the desert in Egypt, right? So we're so excited. And then we get up close, and they don't really wear deodorant that much in Europe. So we get up close, and all of a sudden we're like, oh. They stink. And I mean, if we lived in Europe and we didn't,
I know what you're getting at, but when you say the value of deodorant, I was like, you mean on the trading market there? Because some people get it and some people don't.
Yeah, I know. And I'm being a terrible American, because if we lived over there and we didn't wear deodorant, we'd be totally used to it and it wouldn't be a big deal. But as a person who is not used to it at all, it like hit me like a punch to the face.
Yeah. Well, no, it's hard to say. I mean, even here in America, even though you don't get taught. It just kind of happens that you need to, gym class,
Yeah.
It's like, guys, make sure you take your shower before you go to the next class.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
But one thing I always, I always remembered was They always make you run a lap or two around the damn track before you go in to take your shower. And they give you 5 minutes to take a shower and get, and I'm like, and they always like, why do you run the damn thing so fast? So I can get the hell out of here and into the damn gym.
That's right. That's right. Yes. That's right.
Because like, I'm not trying to show off just because I can run the damn track. I'm just trying to get there so I have enough time to get cleaned.
Yeah. It was the same thing in like basic training, all the little tricks and things you would develop to be more efficient.
Yeah.
Like when they would get you up in the morning, you would have a very limited amount of time to get your PT, your physical training gear on, to be shaven, your teeth brushed, your bunk made, everything perfect, and be down in formation, right?
Right.
So, there was a lot of us who would sleep on the floor in our sleeping bag, so that we'd never unmake our bed. The bed would be perfectly made at all times, and we'd never touch it. And we'd sleep in our PT gear.
Right. But here's the funny part: they catch you doing that, and then while you're out, they'll mess up your. They
mess up your bunks. I know. Yeah, but you can make. But that's not the same. But if they do that, you're making that up at some other time. You're not having to do it in the 5 minutes they give you in the morning.
Yeah.
Right? Because like all I had to do was jump up, roll up my sleeping bag, brush my teeth, and go downstairs. While these other idiots are having to make up their bunk and do all these other things, I'm like, I don't know why you guys don't figure this out.
Yeah. Because I want comfort. You're on a hard floor.
Yeah.
Well, we're in Egypt. You're on the freaking sand now.
Yeah. Well, that was actually more comfortable. I slept in the bed then. They're not so crazy once you're out of basic training.
I know.
Yeah.
They can be if you get in the wrong groups, but
yeah.
But not normally when you're deployed. No. Yeah.
When you're overseas, they actually are pretty cool. Like the dining facilities are actually really good overseas, because they're like, okay, you're away from home, you're away from family and all the comforts you're used to. So they tend to make the dining facilities pretty good. But back stateside, the dining facilities are pretty awful.
Yeah.
So
it's like, which is
one of those things.
Cafeteria or military cafeteria?
Yeah, if you could get I forgot what they call it now. It's been so many years, but if you could get an extra stipend on your paycheck so that you could eat out of the cafeteria instead of in the cafeteria, you were lucky. That was a good thing, because then you could go grocery shopping or whatever,
right,
and eat anywhere but the cafeteria in the dining facility.
Yeah. Okay, let's get,
because that was not good.
A little more artwork here on this. Again, a little bit of violence here. She's kind of like really nailed him pretty hard, actually.
She just stole something from this guy, and she wanted to get in and out before he ever woke up, but he woke up to go to the bathroom. As you can see on the page, if you scroll up one page,
actually,
she's sitting in the closet.
Yeah,
see right there. She's sitting in the closet because she says before that she paid a guy at the bar to slip him a Mickey, to put some sleeping stuff in his drink, but apparently the guy didn't do it. So now she's going to have to pay him another visit later. So now she's stuck sitting in the closet until he falls back asleep.
Yeah.
But because he wakes up, he notices the breeze coming in through the window where she cut a hole to get in.
Right.
And so now he's going to call for security. So now she has to get a little mean.
Yep.
So now she has to get out quickly.
Yep.
And security's already been alerted, though, just by picking up the phone. That's enough to alert security. Luckily, she knows how to take care of herself.
Yep.
And one thing that's I point out in my story page here, but one thing that is important to me in this book is that everything that I have in my book, all the little technological things, it's not like James Bond in the 80s where they just make up silly crap that's
You're trying to be
so impossible to exist. Everything that's in here is either real or it's plausible and is very near to existing.
Okay.
So I actually do real research, like this suit she wears that's made of a fabric that will turn a charge back on the stun gun. That's actually a real fabric.
Okay.
So I do a fair amount of research to make sure that all the little cool things I have in my book are actual things.
Awesome. So this is not the only stuff you do. You have other projects that you said you were going to hopefully develop down the road for Kickstarter as well. You also have your Patreon page where you do oh geez, I can't even think of the name of them right now. I apologize. Let me look real quick.
It's actually not Patreon though. My Patreon page is kind of dead at the moment. I'm hoping that with the success of the Kickstarter and stuff, I might be able to start getting back to my Patreon.
Okay.
I think you might be are you referring to my Business as Unusual strip?
Business as Unusual, and then there was Upside Down.
Oh, the Upside of Down. Yes.
Upside Down.
I have an email newsletter.
Okay.
And people can subscribe to my email newsletter. And my Business as Unusual strip is actually an exclusive part of my. I really should take those down from my Patreon page, but they're old. I've done a ton of new ones since then. But I have a comic strip that I do called Business as Unusual that is an exclusive part of my email newsletter. And it's a comic strip that's mainly based. It's loosely based on my wife and I.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of funny.
How
did you read some of them?
Get on your newsletter.
Oh, the easiest. I have a link for that, but the easiest way to do it is if you go to my website for my comics brand, luxcomics.com, which is luxcomics.com. There'll be a pop-up that comes up allowing people to sign up for my newsletter.
That would be luxcomics.com, like that.
That would be it. Yep. So if you go there, you'll get a little pop-up screen and you can put in your name and email and sign up for my newsletter. My newsletter is, I give updates about my work progress and stuff, but I also, I try to be entertaining on my newsletter. I try to write personal stories and, funny things that happened. Like I said, my comic strip is a part of that. My comic strip, like most of my other stuff, is kind of adult oriented. It doesn't really have nudity or anything like that, but it's just kind of more for adults. It couldn't run in a newspaper. Let's put it that way.
It could. It's kind of alternative newspaper.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. I can't help it. My adult my humor seems to continuously run a little above what's for kids.
You've got It Happens.
It Happens was a thing I did for the University of Phoenix for a while.
Okay.
So that doesn't exist anymore. That was a fun job. That was a sort of a corporate comics job I did for a little while, where it was for the military publication that the University of Phoenix did. So it was veterans that had funny things that happened to them when they were in the military.
Right.
So I would interview them and get the story, and then I would condense it down into a little 2-page comic that I would write and illustrate. That was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to hold. Okay. John says he's got to get to bed. Good show tonight. Thank you, John. Well, when he came in, he had just gotten back from a rehearsal for a play he's going to be doing next week. Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's the musical director for production locally here in South Carolina. And so he's usually got to hit the road by 11 or 12 at the latest.
Yeah.
But we've been here for a while now. And well, let's see. We got, whoops.
So you mentioned the upside of down.
Yes.
I'll tell you a little bit about that real quick. Way back, golly. I think this might have been 98 or 99.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll remember this if I bring it up. Dark Horse Comics had this contest. It was like an online contest.
Mm-hmm. I remember it.
Strip Search, I think it was called.
Something like that.
Something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I entered that. I did an 8-page comic, and it made it past the first round or whatever, and got it was in the semifinals or something, and it was up against a guy that's gone on to have a pretty decent career. I'm trying to think of what he's done. He's got kind of this old Jack Kirby kind of style. He did something kind of like the Old Gods or something, sort of a celestial kind of thing. Tom
Scioli?
Yeah, that might be him. I think you might. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so I did this 8-page short comic called "Take That Job and Shove It," and it was about a guy who finds out he has superpowers, but he's just awful as a superhero. He's just awful. He's so bad at it that he eventually quits and he works at a toll booth now. So that's why
Mark's calling it a night himself. He's wired up doing a sleep apnea study like Barry Windsor Logan.
Well, good luck with that, Mark.
Yeah.
I hope you don't wake up with an adamantium skeleton.
Well, it might be.
Maybe. Yeah. So I did that 8-page short, and I was really happy with it. And it grew into something else in my head, because that's what always happens. Everything I do grows into some sort of giant epic story. So I expanded that into, well, at first I thought it was going to be like a 12-issue miniseries, but I'm not sure it really needs to be 12 issues. I think I can trim that down to maybe 8 or 10 episodes. I don't need to give it a full once over.
What happened to your camera?
Oh, sorry about that. Still with me?
Yep.
So that's morphed into The Upside of Down.
Okay.
So it's an expanded version of that short story. And that's a story I'd really like to tell. I really hope I get to do that eventually. It's very funny. It's very humorous, but it also has a really big heart.
Okay. All righty.
It's kind of, the theme is kind of sort of like, life is what happens when you're trying to do other things. It's kind of one of those kind of stories.
Okay. I want to see if I can. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and share the Lux Comics site real quick.
Not too much on it.
Okay.
Oh, there's the pop-up.
Yeah. Oh, that pop-up was what you need to type in for the newsletter, or?
Yeah, to get on the newsletter, yeah.
Okay. Well, we got a newsletter sign up, and you got his link to his Patreon page as well. You got Recovery Incorporated, The Upside of Down. Simon BRIZDALE, that was the one I was trying to think of. I'd seen some.
Yes.
And I was like, that is
Simon BRIZDALE is another one that I've been working on that for over 15 years. That is a ginormous fantasy epic. It's basically Indiana Jones meets Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's what it says.
And it's also very much like Firefly, Serenity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main character is very snarky, like Mal, and got a good sense of humor. That one has several major story arcs that I've got all laid out and partially written. And I've actually I worked on that for over a year. So I have quite a few pages of that drawn as well. I'm not far from having a first 32-page issue done of that one, actually.
Okay.
But I got to the point where I was tired of waiting to get a Kickstarter going, and I suddenly remembered that I had the first issue of Recovery Incorporated completely done and just sitting there. So,
now you've also done work for Boom Studios and Devil's Due.
Yeah.
What did you do for them? Because like I said, I just recently discovered you through Carl telling me about Recovery. So
Devil's Due, I actually I got to do I got hired to do. They had lost G.I. Joe, and so they were trying to get back into a kind of a franchise game. So they did. I'm gonna switch up my little setting here real quick to try and preserve my battery a little bit. They did. There's a competing toy line called The Core.
Okay.
And so I got hired to illustrate that book. Okay. And Rick Remender was writing it.
Okay.
So I got an issue and a half into that before they told me to sting on it because they were going bankrupt and they couldn't pay me at all.
Ah, okay.
So that was fun.
Well, that's Boom for you.
No, that was Devil's Due.
Oh, Devil's Due. Okay, pardon me. Okay,
yeah. So that was Devil's Due. But I have to say,
I meant to say Devil's Due, not Boom.
Yeah. To Josh Blaylock's credit, I mean, he still owes me some money, but he did try to help me out some. He hired me for a few other type comics jobs after, which did help pay me some back of what he owed me. So I just completely throw him under the bus.
Oh, no.
He tried to.
There's always a situation, and I'm not picking on Josh or Devil's Due. I mean, there's not a publisher in this business that hasn't stiffed their creators at some point. There just isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whether they meant to or not is one, everything's a different set of circumstances in individual cases. But, sometimes they try to make it up for you. Sometimes they don't. But, I think it's interesting when these companies stay in business, but you know that they're behind the scenes, they're on very thin ice financially. And,
Yeah.
you know, like, I don't know if you're familiar with what Josh is doing right now. They're trying to fund.
I don't know too much, but I know he's doing stuff through Kickstarter.
Yeah. They're trying to fund a new company. And we got all these great people. I'm like, yeah, but you have no creators and no content to show me. So why would I back you?
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Oh, you mentioned your little owl, which of course is here.
Oh, yeah.
And for those who don't know what I'm referring to the owl for, we were talking earlier before the show about our backgrounds, and his spirit animal is the owl and mine's the raven. So it was just kind of interesting that, he asked me if I had seen that symbol, and I'm like, yeah, that's where I saw it earlier.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So basically, if we go to luxcomics.com and stay with the newsletter, you'll get updates on Recovery Incorporated, which you can go to the Kickstarter again, and we'll take you to the Kickstarter. Or you can just go to Kickstarter and look up Recovery Incorporated or Michael Penick, and it'll come up in the search. What else is on here, though, so far? I mean, the upside is kind of, like you say, it's in development.
Yeah, I've written a lot of it. I need to do some rewrites and trim it down to its essence and really make it sing. Simon BRIZDALE, I've written a ton of. Bimbo, I've sort of, I've written a fair amount on that one. One is a screenplay written by Dean. And it is brilliant. It's just utterly brilliant. As soon as I read it, I was like, I have to do a graphic novel. We have some other ones as well that we have. Dean and I came up with a really cool science fiction thing where we recorded the entire inception process on audio. Where we started from nothing and we recorded the prior process of creation in audio format. So when we finally get around to getting that drawn or whatever, we will be able to have that in like podcast form. People can actually listen to the creation process.
Interesting. Okay. So you've got quite a bit on your plate to develop over the next year or two, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, more. When you sit around and draw all the time, your brain is pretty free to daydream and whatever. So it comes up with all kinds of things.
That's one of the best things and the worst things about being an artist or a writer. Because you'll be sitting there doing something and all of a sudden something will pop in your brain and you're like, oh crap, I gotta stop and write that down before I forget it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yep, that's right. That's why I always have Google Docs. That's why I use Google Docs for everything, because that way I can always hop on no matter where I am. If I'm at my computer, I can just hop on and type. But if I'm in bed and it's the middle of the night, I can just grab my phone and I can hop onto Google Documents on my phone and I can just, swipe text, whatever it is, it's good to be able to access it no matter where I am to write something down.
Work traditional as well.
Say that again.
You work totally digital or do you work traditional as well?
You mean writing or art?
Because you're saying you're in I'm thinking it because I work mostly traditional.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because when I'm drawing,
I'm half and half when it comes to the artwork.
Yeah.
I like to do layouts and I like to do my pencils digitally because editing is so easy. You can just lasso something and then resize it or move it over here, or it's so much easier than doing it with pencil and having to erase and redraw stuff all the time. But I sometimes I ink digitally because it's also easy and you can have fun playing around with different digital brushes. But I still really enjoy inking traditionally, and I don't ever want to lose those skills. So I like being able to get away from the computer screen as well.
Yeah,
it's nice just looking at a piece of paper.
As a rule, if I'm at my drawing table, I don't, unless I have I'm using the computer for like music in the background, I don't even have it on.
Yeah.
When I'm drawing as a rule.
Yes.
You know, and that's why people were like, well, why won't you do more live draws? Because I used to do live draws last season quite a bit, and I haven't done it yet this year.
Oh.
And
yeah.
I keep telling him after the Super Bowl. Well, because I mean, everybody's been watching sports stuff on the weekends. You know, it's like, well, if you're going to go watch the football, then why do I need to sit here and draw? And for nobody,
yeah, right.
You know, so that was part of it. But and the other thing is, I kind of want to get it where I can get like you or Carl or Aaron or some of the other guys, where we're all doing like a group live draw.
That'd be great. That'd be fun. I'd love to do that.
So, you know, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to schedule that around each other's schedules and stuff sometimes. So, and figure out what we're going to do.
Sure.
I mean, you know, if you, me, and Carl were all there, okay, we each like rotate and do Tina, my character, Maya, your character, and Impossible Jones, because we're all three doing our thieves. Yeah, who's stealing what from who?
Right. Yeah, right.
So, yeah, but that would be interesting. But I hear your cats, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's my boy. That's Bubble saying, "Let me."
What was his name?
Bubble.
Bubble. Okay. Yeah,
my girl cat is Squeak.
My monster left. He had enough attention finally.
He's a big boy, isn't he?
22 pounds.
Yeah. Wow. He is a monster.
Yes. It's like, I remember when he fit in my hand. I got him.
Yeah. Tell me about here. I'm gonna open the door so my here you go. He can come in now. Let's see if he comes in.
Yeah. What kind of kitty is he?
He's just a typical American long hair.
Oh, okay. He's not like this. I mean, ours is a black cat, short hair, but
he's got a half sister, and she's a typical American short hair. The mom cat had a double litter. I didn't know this was possible until this happened. Until we got these cats, we got them from a rescue place, you know. Mm-hmm. And so they're brother and sister. They have the same mother but different fathers. So apparently a cat can get impregnated twice.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either until we got these cats.
I mean, I had dogs that were half siblings, but they were different litters from 8 months apart, but the same mother and different fathers. But that was, that's 8 months apart, So.
Yeah, no, these were born at the same time.
Wow, that's weird.
2 litters born at the exact same time.
That's
crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do some research on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard.
So we have 2 cats, and one's a long hair and one's a short hair, and they're brother and sister.
Yeah. So that's interesting. What do they think of each other?
They're great. They get along great. They've been together their entire lives.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I just thought it was funny because I could hear them.
Yes.
I mean, you didn't. When I picked him up, it was because he was like running.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh
yes. I know what you mean. Our cats have all their claws too.
Yeah. Well, you don't declaw a cat. I mean, come on. People don't understand. It's like,
it's like taking off the end part of your finger.
I would say the first two knuckles. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, if you want to do that, here, I'll go get the I'll go get the shrubbery cleaner. Snap.
Yeah.
What? Then we'll do this with just one. We'll do it with the pinky. Because you don't need your pinky, right? then you'll understand.
That's right.
But
the great thing is, by having the two cats, when they were kittens and they'd play with each other, they learned what their claws felt like on each other. Mm-hmm. So like, we've never had problems with them scratching us.
Mm-hmm. Well, he doesn't do it on like hard. He just just enough that the tips are there.
Yeah. Ours will do that too, but they've never like
no,
because they know from each other that like, oh, that hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cool. All righty then. We've been on for a little over 2 hours, so I think we can call it a good evening. And I want to thank Michael Penick for being here as our guest this week. Again, his series is called Recovery Incorporated. You can see it at luxcomics.com or his Kickstarter. Again, just look up Michael Penick or Recovery Incorporated. You should be able to find it. Do you want me to send? There's also he's also got a DeviantArt page. That'd be Penick Art. At deviantart.com.
Yep.
So once again, thanks for
I gotta put some stuff from there in the vault now.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. How often do you go to your DA page? I mean, it's been a while since I've been.
I used to be active there a lot, but I haven't been there in quite some time. I should go there and tell people there that I have a Kickstarter going.
Good. That might help you.
I haven't even done that.
Well, see, there you go. One more thing to learn. No matter how much
I know,
there's always something more to do.
There's something else, isn't there?
I want a T-shirt though.
Of Recovery Incorporated?
Sure.
Okay.
Think about that.
I'll put that on the list.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Blood Force Trauma?
No.
Okay. This is a T-shirt I got from another Kickstarter program by oh geez. Let me look it up real quick. I know it's Jake, but I can't remember his last name right now. Jake Smith, that's why. It's so common. Why should I remember, right?
Yeah, it's so common, right?
But if you look up Blood Force Trauma, you should be able to buy the first 2 issues from him.
Okay, cool.
And it was supposed to be carried through Diamond, through Albatross, but for whatever reasons, the week it was actually supposed to ship the new #1, they canceled it. And Jake's never told me what the deal was yet. So, and I don't care to speculate because there's all kinds of reasons that could happen. So,
yeah.
I mean, they might not have gotten enough orders. They might, something else may have happened. So, you just wonder sometimes. I always think that one of the problems with Diamond is they don't want to carry us if we are Kickstarted unless we're named, or we go in with some company like, okay, yeah, I did Kickstarter or Indiegogo, but I'm an Image now. I can get my book through, type thing. It's like, it's like, guys, just support comics, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. We were talking earlier about, how we should be friends with each other and help promote each other's stuff online and everything. And this is something I was mentioning to Carl and Aaron, was what we really need to do is find a way to build our own distribution group that carries all of us.
That's right. Yep.
And I don't know if you're familiar with indieplanet.com.
No, but I will familiarize myself with it.
Okay, well, have you ever heard of Kablam Printing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's their distribution group.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
That's their print on demand. You can put all your books through any plant, and they can do print on demand that way and print for your.
Oh, okay.
And I was thinking, that's what we kind of need to do, is be like doing that. And then even if you don't sell a bunch of extras, you could always do a print order or have your people buy online. But
yeah, right.
You need to have enough people that are willing to work together.
Yes.
Yes. So I wish we could have. That's what kind of convention I want to have. It's just all of us talking this stuff and making that happen. Kind of like a pro.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, I would love to be a part of that. I would love to building some kind of alliance like that. Very much.
So you're up in Chicago.
Yep.
Okay. In Chicago proper or suburbs or?
I'm in the northwest suburbs.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So you're north side. So you're a Cubs fan, right?
Sure.
Sure. Not really. Not a baseball guy, or?
No, I like baseball, and I don't really watch much of any sports anymore.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that some other time. I have a little bit of history with the Cubs.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Good history or bad history?
Good. I got to try out for them.
What? Really?
Yeah. So I got to try out for them back in. If I hadn't been so damn short, I might have been a relief pitcher for them.
Wow.
But when I got out of college,
all right,
I was only 5'5", 141 pounds when I got out of college. And
yeah,
and basically with pro athletics, if you're not 6 foot tall, you're not getting anywhere. It seems like. But yeah, I just if you grow up enough, maybe. By the time I grew up to be what I am now at 5'8", I was like late 20s. Just going in minor league late 20s is a little bit rough,
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm not the rookie that I'm not this old dude like the Rookie movie or whatever. I'm not. No, that's not going to happen. So, but they did give me a tryout, and it was nice to at least be considered.
Yeah.
But I actually got the Tigers.
Pretty
too.
Cool.
So, but like I said, I did do athletics. I just wasn't. I didn't play for high school. I played for men's leagues instead.
Yeah.
And because of the attitude problems, as we've already discussed earlier. So, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, then, everybody. So, thanks for coming and watching the show, and thanks for being on the show, Michael. And we'll be back tomorrow for our Friday event.
Thanks for having me, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. And I gotta stop that screen. All these silly programs, as you know, with whoops. Okay, I know why it's doing that. It's not showing right page, right screen. That's why. There we go. If you want to reach me, at Lewis.BrightRaven on Facebook, at LewisBrightRave2 on Twitter, DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven at DeviantArt, on YouTube at Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, Gmail, QuothRavenLBR72 at gmail.com, and LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com if you can't reach me at the Gmail address. On Mondays, we usually have our comics news and reviews. Wednesdays, we have What Did You Get This Week? Thursday night is our guest night, Topical Talk. And then tomorrow night will be our genre night. We'll be doing Talking to Science Fiction. My guest co-host will be Jason McNamara, who is been on the show before. He's the writer of Nocturnal Commission's comic and Ghost Band, which is still working towards being fulfilled for the funding for his Kickstarter. And he's got a new Kickstarter that we're going to talk about tomorrow, as well as our favorite science fiction, obscure science fiction movies and television shows. Got anything else you want to say before we leave?
No, just thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you for being on the show. We always appreciate you and all of our guests that come on, because it actually, it's hard running it by yourself sometimes. It's always, it's nice to have extra people, opinions and insights. So we're always grateful to have people here on the Thursday Night Talk. All right, folks, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.
Have a good night.